Right back at you again. Officer Shapat Dayakin. Dropping something heavy with these cowards out here. Yeah. Coming straight from 125th, 1 West, Harlem, New York. Home of the truth, nigga. Man of war with hair wool, no idols, loving judgments. God of the Bible, the men above me shout, Hum Yasha, and all the warriors be like, Hum Yasha. Kingdom's ours, all the heathens forbidden. The chosen bow down to no one, it was written. The men above me shout, Hum Yasha, and all the warriors be like, Hum Yasha. All day as we discuss how they don't like us. Cabins on streets and corners, all is feeling righteous. Real particular, nobody else there to compare to. Train for war, men of war, and warlike apparel. Prefer our leaders, can't get between us. Watch where you stepping. Cause a scene, you gon' see how brotherhood is a weapon. Tough skin protect our wrists. Teach girls and kids the foulness. Call them prophetess, a priest damn near nothing without it. More than rubies, cute and understanding when describing. Virtue loving, no lip from the daughters of Zion. Gold teeth, earrings, chains, and the rings. Precious metals, fabrics, emphatic stones, and everything. Trying to catch the slave, rewind what we rappers sling. Lost in parables, the scripture breakdowns terrible. Yasha Allah, Prince of the power, we are the Jews. God on earth, you can see it by watching all our moves. Man of war with hair wool, no idols, loving judgments. God of the Bible, the men above me shout, Hum Yasha, and all the warriors be like, Hum Yasha. Kingdom's ours, all the heathens forbidden. The chosen bow down to no one, it was written. The men above me shout, Hum Yasha, and all the warriors be like, Hum Yasha. Man of war with hair wool, no idols, loving judgments. God of the Bible, the men above me shout, Hum Yasha, and all the warriors be like, Hum Yasha. Kingdom's ours, all the heathens forbidden. The chosen bow down to no one, it was written. The men above me shout, Hum Yasha, and all the warriors be like, Hum Yasha. Right back at you again. Officer Shapat Dayakin. Dropping something heavy with these cowards out here. Yeah. Coming straight from 125th, 1 West, Harlem, New York. Home of the truth, nigga. Man of war with hair wool, no idols, loving judgments. God of the Bible, the men above me shout, Hum Yasha, and all the warriors be like, Hum Yasha. Kingdom's ours, all the heathens forbidden. The chosen bow down to no one, it was written. The men above me shout, Hum Yasha, and all the warriors be like, Hum Yasha. All day as we discuss how they don't like us. Cabins on streets and corners, all is feeling righteous. Real particular, nobody else there to compare to. Train for war, men of war, and warlike apparel. Prefer our leaders, can't get between us. Watch where you stepping. Cause a scene, you gon' see how brotherhood is a weapon. Tough skin protect our wrists. Teach girls and kids the foulness. Call them prophetess, a priest damn near nothing without it. More than rubies, cute and understanding when describing. Virtue loving, no lip from the daughters of Zion. Gold teeth, earrings, chains, and the rings. Precious metals, fabrics, emphatic stones, and everything. Trying to catch the slave, rewind what we rappers sling. Lost in parables, the scripture breakdowns terrible. Yasha Allah, Prince of the power, we are the Jews. God on earth, you can see it by watching all our moves. Man of war with hair wool, no idols, loving judgments. God of the Bible, the men above me shout, Hum Yasha, and all the warriors be like, Hum Yasha. Kingdom's ours, all the heathens forbidden. The chosen bow down to no one, it was written. The men above me shout, Hum Yasha, and all the warriors be like, Hum Yasha. Man of war with hair wool, no idols, loving judgments. God of the Bible, The men above me shout, Hum Yasha, and all the warriors be like, Hum Yasha. Kingdom's ours, all the heathens forbidden. The chosen bow down to no one. It was written. The men above me shout, Hum Yasha, and all the warriors be like, Hum Yasha.
Islam is real. Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shabbat Thumb. To the brothers watching, Yahweh Shamal Thumb Bashim Yahweh Shah. To the sisters, it's the ISUPK started out of 1 West 125th Street Hall, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. And since 1969, we've been pushing the truth concerning the Bible, that so-called blacks, Hispanics, and North American Indians are the chosen people of God, the lost 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Tuned in, Precinct Officer Howard Moore, ISUPK, Kentucky. And it's Sunday, so you know what it is. 29th episode of What You Ain't Learned in History Class. Tonight, you see the title. I got some gas for y'all. We finna get into what happened to the black families that rule Europe. Now, of course, you know, those of us in the UPK under Commander General Yohana, we understand that black people once ruled Europe. It's common knowledge that black people once ruled Europe. Vladimir Putin just let out the Russian icons that the UPK has been talking about since 1969. But it's becoming more common knowledge that black people used to rule Europe. Now, what's not common knowledge is what happened to the black families that ruled Europe. Where did they go? All right. Now, it's a big topic. Tonight, I'm just finna cover the UK. Right, I'm just finna cover Scotland, Ireland, right, England. We might do another part 2 or part 3 where I might get into what happened to the black German royal families, what happened to the Spanish and Portuguese royal families, the Russian royal families. But tonight we just finna get into the black families that ruled the UK, the black families that ruled Scotland, Ireland, and England. All right. Now, before we get into it, of course, I want to shout out ISUPK, Kentucky, Maine. Check out the content all week long. All right. Every Monday, a history class taught by Officer of the 1,000, Ayasiyat Hayam. Every Tuesday, Brotherhood class taught by Officer of the 1,000, Amawangawar. We have a Wednesday law class at the main library here in Louisville. And Wednesday night, if you're not tuned in Wednesday night, you're missing out. If you're not tuned in Wednesday night, you're missing out. All right. The baddest podcast around, hosted by Officers of the 1,000, Amawanga Bar and Ayasiyah Payam. Cry Out, Spare Not podcast. Right. They break down and give the biblical solution and the biblical answers to all of the viral videos going around the internet. And of course, every other Sunday, What You Ain't Learned in History Class. Now, again, we're going to be covering what happened to the black families that used to rule Europe. Again, it's become pretty common knowledge now, even though the UPK has been teaching about black Europeans since 1969, right? But now it's becoming common knowledge that black people used to rule Europe. But what's not common knowledge is what happened to these black families that used to rule Europe. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and break into it. Like I said, I got some gas for y'all tonight. All right, Salaki, we got a little bit of technical difficulty here. Give me just a minute, Salaki. It says, Salaki, we got a little bit of technical difficulty. Just bear with me for a second.
Black King James, all them families, all of them were black back in them days, man. From 1617 in the 1800s is when they pushed that. All them Scandinavian countries, all of them countries were all black. King James, all them families, all of them were black back in them days, man. From 1617 in the 1800s is when they pushed that Renaissance, pushed everybody out. We've been known this about our history. And for all them Scandinavian countries, all of them countries were all black. King James, all them families, all of them were black back in them days, man. From 1617 in the 1800s is when they pushed that Renaissance, pushed everybody out. We've been known this about.
Right, so we got Salaki, we got a clip from Commander General Yohana. All right, shout out Black Watch, Commander General Yohana. Now, he was breaking down how in the 16, 17, and the 15, 16, and 1700s, black people were ruling Europe. Black people were running Europe, running things in Europe. And by the 1800s, the black royal families were pushed out of Europe. All right, by the 1800s, the black royal families were pushed out of Europe. And again, we finna talk about where these black families went. All right, let's get into it. All right, so first source. All right, chronology of the war concerning Josephus. All right, Josephus wrote that 1 million people were killed during the siege of Jerusalem in 70 AD. Now, we've all heard about the siege of Jerusalem in 70 AD. Now, according to this source, 1 million Jews were killed during the siege of Jerusalem 70 AD. All right. Chronology of the war concerning, according to Josephus. Next source. All right. Now, we're all familiar with Babylon and Timbuktu. Of course, everybody in the ISUPK, the Commander General Yohana, is familiar with Babylon and Timbuktu. All right. 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. Many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa. All right. Fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery, the slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves. Okay, again, this is Babylon and Timbuktu. All right, the prior source we read that 1 million Jews were slaughtered when Jerusalem was captured. All right, according to Babylon and Timbuktu, another 1 million Jews fled into Africa. All right, and on page 84 of Babylon and Timbuktu, it says the slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves. All right, next slide. All right, next source, War of the Jews. It says 97,000 Jews were sold into slavery. Where? In the Roman Empire. All right, according to War of the Jews, that's your next source, 97,000 Jews were sold into slavery in the Roman Empire. So we have 1 million Jews being slaughtered and killed off, 1 million Jews fleeing into Africa, all right, and approximately 100,000 Jews being sold into slavery in the Roman Empire. So we have damn near 100,000 Jews, black men and women, being sold as slaves in Europe, in the Roman Empire. All right, next slide. Now, these people eventually rose up and created empires, all right, throughout Europe. All right, one of the most famous is one of the Dark Age empires known as Byzantium. All right, if you haven't done the research on the history of the Byzantine Empire, go ahead and break into it. All right, so who are these Jews? All right, we have 1 million Jews fleeing to Africa. We have 1 million Jews slaughtered by the Romans, and another 97,000 Jews sold into slavery in Europe in the Roman Empire. All right, let's break into the Bible. All right, the book of Jeremiah, chapter 14, verse 2. It reads, Judah mourneth, the gates thereof languish, they are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. All right, these Jews that were slaughtered when Jerusalem was captured, these Jews that fled into Africa, and these Jews that were sold into slavery in the Roman Empire were black men, women, and children. All right, were black men, women, and children. Jeremiah 14:2 says, Judah mourneth. Now, Judah is one of the 12 tribes of Israel. All right, the gates thereof languish, they are black unto the ground. So we're talking about black people being sold into slavery in Rome. All right. One of the most famous black European empires after Rome fell was the Byzantine Empire. All right. But I said we're gonna mainly cover the UK today. All right, so let's break into it. All right, so in the mythology of Scotland, all right, all of the mythology of Scotland is black. All right, we're going to get into the name where the name Mac comes from. All right, all the Macs, all right, come from a black royal family. All right, all the Macs like your McDonald, McDowell, Macduff, etc. All of the Macs come from black royal families, and it's all in their medieval mythology. All right. Next slide. All right, Duff McMalcolm. All right, King of Scotland. All right, born circa 928, died circa 967. All right, the old King of Scotland. Again, we might do a part 2 and a part 3 where we cover the black families that ruled Russia, or the black German royal families, or the black Portuguese and Spanish royal families. But tonight we're going to mainly deal with just the UK. All right, so we have, all right, Duff McMalcolm. All right, King of Scotland, born circa 928, died circa 967, and the old King of Scotland. And again, that the all of the Macs, all right, all of the Macs come from black royal families. And we read earlier that black Jews, almost 100,000 black Jews, were sold into slavery in the Roman Empire. All right, when Rome fell, these black families rose up, and this is the result of it right here. All right, here goes the King of Scotland. All right, so the man's name was Duff McMalcolm. All right, and the name Duff, or the name Dub, is another word that means black. All right, it says Duff, a surname adopted in Celtic, which the language the word means black. All right, from the color and complexion of men, so it seems Duff was from the swarthy and black color of those of the tribe or clan of Macduff. Okay, again, all of the Macs, right? All of the Macs come from black royal families in the UK. All right, next source. All right, next source. Macbeth, High King of Scotland. All right, 1040 to 1057. It reads, we have guessed that one division of the posterity of this powerful black king of the 10th century became known to Gaelic-speaking peoples as Magyar Dub, shortened to Macduff, or the clan of the black, which race was for a long time paramount in the kingdom of Fife itself, in all probability, one of 3 black divisions. Macduff is certainly a common enough Gaelic name, meaning the son of a black man. Okay, again, all of the Macs come out of black royal families. All right, next source. All right, next source, James McVeigh, Dalmac, 1889. It reads, as Niger and Rufus were names of families amongst the Romans. All right, we just read that 97,000 black Jews were sold into slavery in the Roman Empire. All right, from the color and complexion of men, so it seems Duff was from the swarthy and black color of those tribes or clan of Macduff. All right, source, James McVeigh, 1889. All right, so this is out of Sex and Race by J.A. Rogers. All right, Sons of the Black. And this is the son. This is the son, all right, of Duff McMalcolm. All right, this is the son of Duff McMalcolm. All right, another black king of Scotland. All right, he ruled Scotland from 997 to 1005. And you can read about him in Sex and Race by J.A. Rogers. All right, next source. All right. All right, next source, the Macduffs, the Mormons of Fife. All right, again, the word Macduff means sons of the black. All right, again, we're talking about black rulership in the UK. Again, we read earlier that after the siege of Jerusalem in 70 AD, 97,000 black Jews were sold into slavery in the Roman Empire. When Rome fell, these black families rose to power. And we're talking about black royal families of the UK. All right, black royal families of the UK. All right, the Macduffs, the sons of the black. The Earl of Fife, or Mormor of Fife, was the ruler of the province of Fife in medieval Scotland, which encompassed modern countries of Fife and Kinross. Due to their royal ancestry, the Earls of Fife were the highest ranking nobles in the realm and had the right to crown the kings of the Scots. Hailed by the Macduff family, the Mormors of Fife by the 12th century had established themselves as the highest ranking native nobles in Scotland. All right, and we're talking about people that look like this. All right, we're talking about people that look like this. All right, the 10th century next source is from 1697. All right, in the 10th century, Kenneth, king of Albin, who was known as Dub, Niger, or the Black, seems, however, to have been a Scot, and according to his swarthy complexion, was quite in keeping with his supposed descent. So what is it saying? What it's saying is that a swarthy complexion or a black complexion was the norm for Scotland, in the 10th century. All right. The normal complexion for Scotland in the 10th century was a swarthy or a black complexion. Here's your source from 1697. All right, next source, 1905, the word swarthy or swart derives from Swartz. Swartz means to be black, black man, and Negro. All right, so anytime you see the word swarthy, in older literature, in medieval literature, all right, the word means black. You're talking about a black person. All right, next source. All right, again, the word Duff, as in Duff McMalcolm. We're talking about the Mac families, all the Macs. All right, all of these words mean black. All right, all of these words mean black in Old Scottish and Irish languages. All right, again, we just read that being of a swarthy complexion or a dark complexion or a black complexion was the norm in Scotland in the 10th century. All right, next source. All right, David McRitchie, Ancient and Modern Brits, Volume 1, 1884. The legends and the history of the Scottish Highlands are both witnesses to the existence of purely black people. Again, we're talking about the norm, all right, the average person in Scotland in the medieval period. We're talking about black people, all right? We're talking about black people. All right, the Kennedys. All right, we're going to get into the Kennedys here in a minute when we talk about what actually happened to the black families that ruled Europe. Okay, again, our topic tonight is what happened to the black families that ruled Europe. And I'm kind of giving y'all a backdrop, all right, of who these families are, all right, where they come from, all right, and then we're going to get into what happened to them and where they actually went and where they are today. All right, so the Kennedys, all right, the grim-headed kings of Carrick. All right, the Kennedys is a descriptive name meaning grim-headed. All right, for not only was the good Sir James known as a Black Douglas, but so also was his grandson, a son of Archibald de Grim. More than this, it seems very probable that Archibald de Grim was really so called because he was Archibald the Black. All right, again, another word, grim, is another word that means black. All right, so the Kennedys, another Scottish name. All right, the Douglases, another Scottish name. Now keep some of these names in mind. All right, keep the Macs. All right, anything starting with the Mac, McDonald, McDowell. All right, keep the name Kennedy in mind. Keep the name Douglas in mind. We're going to get into these family names a little bit later. All right, so the Macs, the Kennedys, and the Douglases. All right, next slide. All right. It says this is actually stated by one writer who said that on his account of his swarthy complexion was commonly called grim. All right. And testing upon the etymology of the Grampian Hills in his addition to Toland's History of the Druids, Huddleston talks of our vulgar phrase, grim puss or black cat, which again makes grim black. So we're talking about the word grim meaning black. We'll skip a few slides here for time's sake. All right, next source, Peter Beresford Ellis, Macbeth, High King of Scotland, from which we see the name Kenneth or Kenneth has come down to us in the form of Kennedy. All right, and that earliest Kenneths and Kennedys were probably of the same stock and race, named Macduff. All right, so the Kennedys, all right, the Douglases, and all of the Macs are all black royal family names out of the UK. All right, the Stuarts. All right, the Stuarts are one of the more famous families. All right, when we're talking Stuarts, we're talking about the family of King James now. All right, the Stuarts, we're talking about the family of King James in them. And King James, I'm talking about the person known for having the 1611 King James Bible translated, the same King James. All right, so the name Stuart. All right, let's get into it. All right, the highlighted part says they lineally descended from Sir John Stuart, commonly called the Black Stuart, from his complexion. All right, so the name Stuart even means black. All right, so keep those names in mind. Keep the Macs. All right, the Macs, the Kennedys, the Douglases, and the Stuarts. All right, keep all those names in mind. All right, this is the crest of the Stuart family. All right, this is the crest of the Stuart family. All right, this is Henry Stuart. All right, Henry, Lord of Darnley. This is the father of King James. As you can see clearly, this is a black man. All right, this is the father of the famous King James. All right, here's King James himself. All right, James Charles Stuart, King of Scotland and England. And this is who Jamestown, Virginia is named after. All right. And again, this is the famous king known for having the 1611 King James Bible translated into English. This is the famous King James here. All right, this is Prince Rupert, Duke of Cumberland. This is one of the grandsons of King James. All right, this is the individual responsible for the discovery of the Gambia River, and therefore opening up the slave trade to the UK. All right. All right, next source. All right, this is Charles II. This is another grandson of King James. All right, this is who Charlotte, South Carolina is named after. All right, this is the man that owned the charter for the Royal Africa Company. All right, and under King Charles's watch, all right, under the Royal Africa Company, over 200,000 slaves were shipped out of West Africa and sent to the British colonies. All right, King Charles II, grandson of King James, held the charter for the Royal Africa Company and is responsible for the trafficking of over 200,000 slaves out of West Africa and brought into the British colonies. All right, source: Inquiry into the Circumstances and the Death of King Charles II, 1861. Charles II was, in the popular language of the day, a tall black man. All right, again, we're giving you the backdrop of these royal families in the UK. And in a minute, we're going to talk about what happened to them and where they went. So again, King Charles, all right, known as a tall black man. All right, this is Elizabeth of Bohemia, daughter of King James. All right, Elizabeth Stuart was an electress of the Palatinate, that's in Germany. All right, and known as the Winter Queen. All right, source: Elizabeth Stuart of Bohemia. This is her. As you can see, it's a black woman. All right, this is Queen Anne. All right, Anne Stuart. This is a niece of Charles II. All right, Queen of England and Scotland and Ireland from March 1702 until May 1707. Again, these are all black families. All right, this is James Francis Edward Stuart. All right, another Stuart. Now we're finna break into what happened to these families. All right, how did black people fall out of power in the UK? All right, so Charles Edward Stuart leads a failed Jacobite rebellion in 1745 in an attempt to put the Stuarts back on the throne through his father, James Francis Edward Stuart. Again, this is an image of him. Another Stuart, another relative of King James. Now, the Jacobite Rebellion, all right, or the Jacobite Wars, this was a beef between the Stuart family and the Hanovers. All right, the Hanovers were a German family. The Hanovers were a German family that usurped the throne, and the Jacobite Wars was about putting the Stuarts back on the throne. All right. Now, it says the failed Jacobite rebellion because the Stuarts and all of their allies, all right, lost the rebellion. Now, we finna see what happened to the Stuart family and their allies after the failed Jacobite rebellion. All right. Transportation Act of 1717 was an act of the Parliament of Great Britain that established a regulated bonding system to transport criminals to the colonies in North America for indentured service and punishment for those convicted or attainted in Great Britain. Now, these Jacobite rebels, these people were known as criminals. All right? These people were known as criminals. Now, under the Transportation Act, all criminals from the UK were being sent to North America to work out an indentured servitude. And this is what happened to the Jacobite rebels. This is what happened to the Stuart family and all of their allies. All right, it says England transported its convicts and political prisoners, all right, as well as prisoners of war from Scotland and Ireland to its overseas colonies in the Americas from the 1610s until the early American Revolution in 1776, when the transportation to America was temporarily suspended by the Criminal Law Act of 1776. It says transported criminals, convicts, political prisoners, and prisoners of war from Scotland and Ireland to the Americas until 1776. All right, it says, whereas in many of His Majesty's colonies and plantations in America, there is a great want of servants who by the hard labor and industry might, by the means of improving and making the said colonies and plantations more useful to this nation. Over the next 6 decades of the 1717 acts to use its American colonies, transportation of convicts and others helped supply the much needed colonial labor, which in turn increased production and benefited the realm as a whole. All right. These black people, these black men and women, all right, were labeled as convicts, prisoners of war, all right, and they were sent to colonies and sent to plantations in British North America to work out servitude. And it's all covered in a book called Jacobite Gleanings. All right, Jacobite Gleanings, short sketches of Jacobites, the transportation of 1745, all right, by J. Macbeth Forbes. And it talks about what happened to these Jacobite rebels. All right, it talks about what happened to the Stuart family and all of their allies. All right, again, the Jacobite Wars was about taking back the throne from the Hanovers and putting the Stuarts, which is King James and them family, putting the Stuarts back on the throne. All right, next slide. All right. It says on 31st of July, 1746, 5 weeks after Governor Pepperell's appeal for the soldiers from Jacobite sources, application was made for rebel prisoners being sent as recruits for regiments serving in North America and the West Indies. All right. These Jacobite rebels, these black men and women and children, all right, families of King James and his allies, all right, were labeled as rebel prisoners and were sent to plantations in America and the West Indies. All right, the first record of transportation in this rebellion was 47 rebels shipped at Liverpool on the 26th of April, 1746 for the plantations. All right, there was the Edinburgh writer, George Hume, age 30, marked as a black man whose color would no doubt suit the West Indies. All right, these political prisoners, all right, from the failed Jacobite rebellion were sent to plantations in British colonies in North America. All right. Source, Scottish colonial scheme, 1620 to 1686, declaring his readiness to find caution to transport them to Virginia, Maryland, and the Caribbean islands. All right. This is what happened to the black royal families in the UK. All right. This is what happened to the black royal families in the UK. They were shipped to plantations in Virginia, Maryland, and the Caribbean islands. Here's your source. All right. Over time, all so-called black survivors were shipped off to the United States and the Caribbean islands as indentured servants, and Europe was thus cleansed of all black people. So-called blacks were highly skilled tradesmen in Europe, and they brought those skills to the Americas and the Caribbean, whether as free men or indentured servants. All right. This is what happened to the black royal families in the UK. This is what happened when the Stuarts tried to take back the throne from the Hanovers. All right, they were labeled as political prisoners and prisoners of war. All right, and these people were sent to the Caribbean islands and the United States to work out indentured servitude. All right, this is how Europe got rid of black royal families. This is how Europe got rid of the black royal families in the UK. And again, it's all from a book. You can get all this from a book called Jacobite Gleanings. All right, so next we're going to get into, I've got a copy of some of the ship logs from these Jacobite prisoners. Again, the Jacobites were the family of King James and the allies of King James. Right, the family of King James and the allies of King James. Now, we read earlier about the Kennedys, right? We read earlier about the Kennedy. Here's a Kennedy right here. All right, Mary Kennedy. All right, a description: brown, full-faced, and ruddy. All right, we're talking about somebody with a dark complexion. All right, John Dunbar, dark complexion and well-made. All right, Robert Warren, brown, well-made, and healthy. All right, Andrew Mill, brown complexion, slender and thin. We're talking about black people. We're talking about black people being sent from Europe to work out an indentured servitude in the United States and the Caribbean. All right, here's another one. All right, Dougal Campbell, black complexion, well-made and ruddy. All right, Alex Campbell. All right, John Campbell, brown and swarthy. All right, we have a description of all of these people from these ship logs, and they're all describing black people. All right, here's another Kennedy. All right, Juno Kennedy. All right, black and well-made. All right, here's a couple of Macs. We got William McLean, Angus McIntosh, Peter McIntosh. All right, William McLean, black, well-made and strong. Agnes McIntosh, black, very strong made. We already read that all of the Macs were black people and belonged to these black royal families in Scotland. Right, if you scroll down, here's a Stuart. We just read about the Stuart family. All right, John Stuart, brown, well-made, and swarthy. All right, Isabel Chambers, black, tall, and slender. All of these were prisoners of the Jacobite Wars. All of these were prisoners of the Jacobite Wars. These are all black people. These were the allies and the family of King James, and they were all sent to the Americas. All right, to British colonies in North America and the Caribbean. All right, so some of these people were able to gain freedom from their servitude. All right, some of these people were able to gain freedom from their servitude. And they did that from enlisting in the military. All right, enlisting in the military. A lot of these people were able to gain their freedoms. This is all from Virginia's Colonial Soldiers. All right, by Lloyd DeWitt. All right, here's a list of men out of Westmoreland County. All right, it's going to talk about their name, age, nativity, complexion, occupation, and height. All right, and all of these people are described as a brown or black complexion. All right, at the bottom, John May, 25, Irish, dark complexion, 5'7". All right, John Worrell, Virginia, dark complexion. Richard House, England. All right, Richard Harum, Virginia, brown complexion. All right, Nicholas Queensberry, Virginia, brown complexion. All right, these are people. These are black indentured servants. These were black indentured servants that were able to gain their freedom by joining the military. All right, we've got county militia rosters out of Virginia. Now we read earlier the main three places that these black Jacobite rebels, the three main places that they were sent to be made slaves in, was Maryland, the Caribbean, and Virginia. All right, so a list of okay, we just read this one, Salakia. Now we have about 10 pages of lists here. All right, now I know it's going to be impossible to read, Salakia, but I'll read off just a few. But feel free to go back. All right, pause. All right, blow it up. But I'll read off a few. All right, Robert Bassett. All right, Chesterfield, Shoemaker. All right, dark complexion. All right, Charles Scott, dark and swarthy. Jacob Morris, swarthy. Edward Land, dark brown complexion. All right, William Holland, dark and swarthy. All right, again, we're talking about black people, all right, that were being shipped out of Europe to be made indentured servants, and they were able to gain their freedom by joining the military. All right, they were able to gain their freedom by joining the military. All right, here's a William McLeod, another Mac. All right, 1755. All right, Virginia, short and black. All right, Moses Stark, thin face. John Bucky. All right, Planter, Virginia, black. All right, Richard Cornelius, Ireland. And if I can find it, Salaki, it's a lot to read from. If I can find it, there's actually a biblical description of one of these indentured servants that joined the military. It actually called them black and comely. All right, Patrick Hughes, Pennsylvania, Ireland, dark complexion. Cornelius Henley, Ireland, dark complexion. William Sumner's, New England, dark complexion. All right, Jeremiah Hurley, Ireland, dark complexion. All right, again, this is describing black indentured servants that gained their freedom by joining the military. All right, let's I just go to our next source because this is going to be pretty much impossible to read. Let's see if the next one's a little bit easier. All right, this is the Munster Rolls out of New York Provincial Troops. it looks like this is going to be almost impossible to read too. But again, if I may, all right, replay the video. All right, pause the video, blow it up. All right, and you'll see the names. You'll see the names, locations, nativity, and the complexion of all of these people, all of these indentured servants that joined the military and gained their freedom. But just a few of them. There's some Mackeys, McDonald's, all right, some Kennedys, some Stewarts, all of the names that we talked about earlier. All right, all of the Macks, these black royal families in the UK, the Kennedys, all right, the Douglases, and the Stewarts. All of these black family names in the UK, all right, all of them ended up on slave ships to be sent out of Europe to plantations in America and the Caribbean. And you also see these very same names pop up on military rolls. All right, these same black people joined the military to gain their freedom. These same black people joined the military to gain their freedom. And this is where you get the term free people of color from. All right, this is where you get the term free people of color. All right, these black families out of Europe, all right, the Macks, the Kennedys, the Douglases, the Campbells, and the Stewarts, all right, all of these people were transported out of the UK after the Jacobite Wars, and they were sent to work on plantations in the Americas. And again, these people, all right, these black European royals, they joined the military to gain their freedom. Now, there was a main one, a Stewart, a John Stewart, all right, of the family of King James. All right, he was on the list of these Jacobite rebels that was sent to the Americas, and he became the superintendent for the Southern District of British Indian Departments. This John Stewart became an ally of the Cherokee. All right, this black Stewart became an ally of the Cherokee. All right, and actually had allies with the Cherokee against the American colonists in the American Revolution. But he's described as brown, well-made, and swarthy. So again, all of these Jacobite rebels, all of your Macks, your Douglases, your Kennedys, your Campbells, and your Stewarts, you see all of these names on ship logs labeled as criminals or political prisoners from the Jacobite Rebellion. All of these people were shipped to plantations in the Americas, and they gained their freedom by joining the military. And a famous Stewart, John Stewart, became an ally with the Cherokee, and in turn, the Cherokee became an ally with the British Empire. They were known as the Loyalists. And this black man, this black Stewart, made an ally with the Cherokee, and the Cherokees allied with the British against the American colonists. They were known as the Loyalists. All right, last slide. David McRitchie, Ancient and Modern Britons, Volume 1, 1884. Although the black heathen were expelled from these islands many centuries ago, and although as a distinct race, they have almost vanished from Europe. All right. The reason they had vanished from Europe, again, black royal families, the Macks, the Campbells, the Douglases, the Kennedys, and the Stewarts. You see all of these names on ship logs, all of them labeled Jacobite rebels, political prisoners, prisoners of war. They were sent to American colonies to work on plantations. And again, some of them were able to gain their freedom by joining the military. And we see these same names, these same family names on military records in the Americas. All right. And they're still described as dark complexion, swarthy complexion, and black complexion. All right. This is what happened to the black royal families that ruled Europe. The black royal families that ruled Europe ended up on American plantations. All right. So with that, we'll go ahead and end it. Shalom, Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai Barakathon, Yahweh Shemalathon by Shem Yahweh Shai. Class dismissed.